Alright, the last part of this exercise is to modify this railing that's up here in front, and we need to load a few different families for this. We're going to change the baluster type, we're going to change the top rail, and we're going to change the corner post. And right now we're going to get rid of those little 1-inch squares and put something more interesting in there. So to start this, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, I'm going to click on Load Family, and that's going to pull up our family tree. We're going to go ahead and make sure we get in. We're going to start here. We go down to railings, and then we go to balusters. I'm going to go ahead and get the baluster custom 1, and I'm also going to get the newel post here, this one. I can get both these at the same time because I used the insert tab. So I'll go ahead and click OK on that. Those are loaded into my family tree now. If you looked into this, you would see them down here somewhere. Here's the post. I've got the newel post, and here I've got the baluster custom 1, and this is the one that we just loaded. We also need to load the. Oh, we're going to do that later. We're going to load the top rail profile later. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this railing, and I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Type on that railing. We're going to duplicate it and create a new type. This is going to be called Existing House Railing with Baluster and Post. That's a long name. Okay. And in here we're going to make a few changes. We're going to come in here and explore this baluster placement a little bit, and the baluster that we're going to create is going to be the custom 1. So I'm going to open this window up so we can see it a little better, and I'm going to say the regular baluster, the normal one, is the new one we just loaded. It's called custom 1. It's a 3/4 inch profile, and then down here below where it says on the corner the start post, I'm going to say the first one needs to be that newel, and I'm going to go ahead and use the 4.5 inch newel post, and then the corner and the end post I'm not going to have any at all here. We're just going to say none, and we're going to say none. Alright, and I want to make sure that we're using balusters per treads. This is a little setting that is easily overlooked, but we need to make sure we're paying attention to it. We're going to have 2 balusters on each tread. It's going to be that custom here. Okay, so the main pattern is set up, and the justification is set up, and then the number of balusters per tread is correct at this. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK to that, and click OK to that again, and we should see now those new components show up in that place. You may have noticed that we had 2 different settings to control these balusters. If I go back into that Edit Type just briefly, let's take a look at that baluster placement again. We've got the standard regular baluster up here, and then we've also got the use balusters per treads, and we've got 2. If we uncheck this, we will get the normal pattern. You can see how that's going to change things. When I click Apply here, you see how that shifts it over and brings it to a different place. But what we can also see is they're sort of resting right there on the tip. What I do when I say baluster placement, when I change this to say use 2 balusters per tread, it centers those on the tread. And so when I click Apply to that, I got to do it twice. When I click Apply to that, you can see I've got 2 balusters now on each tread. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is to set up the newel post. We don't want it to be flying off on the corner. We can see it's sort of not very nice right where it is. We want it to sort of land on its own tread, and I'd like it to be centered kind of on this arc here. And so what I'm going to do is just modify the rail path. This is easiest to do in the plan view. I'll go ahead and double click it to open the path, and then you can tell I can't really see where the end point is because this is isometric, so I'm going to have to go down here to level 1. Sorry, same project. Let's go back. I'll have to go down here to level 1 on my project browser, and then I can modify the length of this line. I'm just going to pull it down so that it's here, maybe just a hair further. I really want to kind of be right in the middle of that. There we go. And then when I click OK, that newel post will move down because it's associated with that point. Let's take a look back in 3D. That looks good. I do have one baluster there that's kind of tucked into the endpoint. Not very happy about that. Let's see if there's anything I can do. The best way to take care of this is to move the baluster, put a little offset on that newel post. You can see, if you look closely, the railing continues right on into the center of this thing. What I want to do is sort of create an offset for this newel post so that the railing ends right at the face of the newel post. And the way to do that, let's go into Edit Type again, and I'm going to go here to Baluster Placement, and for the newel post I'm going to say an offset of, let's try 2 inches. It was a 4 1/4 inch newel post, so 2 inches ought to be just about right when I apply that. And we can see that still didn't shift very far down, so let's go ahead and do that again. I guess I took off somehow I deleted the offset of 2 inches. Let's put in that again, 2 inches, and then apply that. Oh, it set it off to the side. We want to really actually make it go off towards the end. So let's take that and fix that again. This needs to be 0. This one needs to be 2 inches where it says space. I believe that will take care of us. Nope, -2 inches. There we go. So now we can see the, yeah, maybe just a little bit too far. Let's put it back to 1 1/2. That looks pretty good. Okay, so the problem now being that we need to stop the rail 1 1/2 inches before we want the base of this to occur. So again, back in plan view, what I'm going to do is grab that railing again and move this point back 1 1/2 inches. So this will say 1 foot 1.5. There we go. Finish that, go back into 3D, take a look. That looks pretty good. Okay, the last thing we're going to do to this is to edit the wall that is adjacent to these stairs so that this little hole down here doesn't stick out. And so here's how this works. We're going to edit the profile of this wall. The way to do that is to double click the wall. You get this pink line. And what I need to do is sort of stick this pink line up underneath the stairs. So the way I'm going to do that is by selecting lines. And what it's going to do is it's going to create sketch lines that are parallel to the surfaces that I click on, and they will be coplanar with these existing pink lines because that is the sketch that we're working with. So I'm going to have it come up here. I'm going to have it tuck underneath that stair, tuck behind this riser. Get that riser, and then I'm going to have it tuck up underneath the profile of this, and then finally over here at the very far end I'm going to click on one of those vertical lines, and then this is not a closed shape. All these pink lines have to be a closed shape, so I'm going to use trim to make them into a closed shape. Trim this to that, etc., all the way around so that I can create a closed profile for this wall. That is a closed shape, and when I finish this, the wall fills in those gaps and it creates a nice profile there. Now I'd probably want to come in here and clean this up further, but that gives us a good idea. Last thing I see, I just noticed the rail is actually over here. It needs to be stuck back into the wall as well. So if I click on this, I can see it currently has an offset from path of 1 inch. And change that to 0 and see what happens. And it pokes out too far the other way. 2 inches should take care of that. Apply that that changed. Now it's in the middle. I did just see we need to also get the railing to be have a different profile for the railing. And so the first step to do this is I need to load the correct profile, because I can see here in my project browser that I don't have the profile that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a railing profile called decorative. And so I'm going to go up to load family. I'm going to come down to the profiles folder and go into railings, and I need to load this one called decorate rail, and this is going to give me that little hand grip like this. Okay, so that profile is now, you saw it just pop up over here. If you were paying attention, you saw it just show up right here in decorative rail. There's one right here. And so what I need to do now is apply that profile to this location. And so to do that, the first thing I want to do is create a custom, or a duplicate of this top rail profile. Now, so many times what we've been able to do is be able to select an item. I used tab and clicked it, so I got just the top rail. And we can go into edit type and click duplicate, but you'll notice it's grayed out in this case. And so what I have to do is, it works a little differently because of it's being nested like this. What I have to do is go into the railings area, and I need to go ahead and go to the railing and then go to top rail, and on top rail I'm going to select one. I have this rectangular 2x2 and I need to duplicate it here. For some reason I can't get it through the other menu, so I have to duplicate it here, and I'm going to call this existing. I need to rename it, and I'm going to call it existing top rail. And so you go to rename and you type your existing top rail, and I've already got that one made, so it's not going to let me do it again, but that's okay. And then I can use the one that I've already made, existing top rail. And then what I can do now is edit the type properties by right-clicking on that one we've just made and clicking type properties. And right now the profile is still set to the existing, so I'm going to this 2x2. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the decorative railing for that profile. Okay, so now I have a railing that refers to that profile, and now I can change this railing, this top rail, to follow that profile. And so I'm going to say edit type, and right here it's saying profile is using rectangular 2x2, and I'm going to take the decorative rail. Oops, that's not how to do it. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to say edit type, and I need to pick it. Let's see, let's go through the main menu here for the whole set. So I've got the entire railing selected, edit type, and then for the top rail it's currently going to rectangular 2x2, and now I can change it here to be the existing top rail. Pretty convoluted. I have to go into the railing system family and then open up the top rail setting, and when I open up the top rail setting I can change its type. But that's the only way I can access it. And when I say OK, apply that, say OK, you can see there it is, and it's pretty. So again, the way to get it to take that fancy rail right there is you select the entire stair as a whole, the entire railing as a whole. You click on edit type. The top rail type, you need to say which type do you want to use, and you can say right here which type you want to use, and then you can change it. Okay, that was the way that we work with those railings. For extra credit, if anybody can figure it out, this bugs me and I don't know how to fix it right now. The lesson doesn't go into it, and I've just run out of time. So what I can see here is my railings are not parallel. I've got one railing here and one railing here, and they're not parallel. And I don't know, looks to me like the longer one is parallel with the stairs, and then this one, for some reason, when we put that newel post on, it goes up at a steeper angle. So I'm thinking the newel post is what's doing that, but if anybody can figure out how to fix it, I would be happy to hear your answers. Thank you for your attention. That is the end of Residential Stairs and Chapter 8.